had a real hard time playing the game as Abby. No, a lot of people did. I had friends that got to the Abby section and just put their controller down and stopped playing because they're like, nope, I don't. They're like, I know what you're going to do. You're going to try to make me feel bad for her and be like, oh, see, it's just a matter of perspective. Like, people knew what they were doing. A lot of people just didn't care and were like, no, I don't care. I'm upset she killed Joel and I don't like her and I don't want to be manipulated into liking her. I'm good. And they just put their controller down, which I think is a testament to how well they built the relationship between the player and Joel, that people were that loyal to him, that they were not willing to hear any alternative, perspectives. But I think that also, it's why I've said, I think The Last of Us Part 2 is a really novel, cool, interesting idea for a game. But I think the message would have been much, much better delivered and received if it were done with different characters in a different IP. Like, I think if they had done an original IP, set it in like a medieval time, and, you start the game with this like whole revenge story, and then you flip the perspective and show how it's a revenge story from the other perspective too. That could have worked. But I think choosing to do it with Joel and Ellie and Abby, I think was a mistake, because they kind of underestimated how much people loved Joel and how loyal I think fans would be to him. Insane. Luke, do you not like The Last of Us Part 2 anymore? You have a 5-hour video calling it a masterpiece. Yeah, I think based on that video, granted it's been years since I made the video, I do think it's a masterpiece technically, and in terms of like gameplay presentation, everything they did with that. I think it would have been way more effective, because ultimately, like, there's looking at it in a vacuum, and then there's looking at it in the context of its performance and the reception to it. And I think if you're trying to tell a story that's to like aiming to get people to think more empathetically and be like, ooh, it's all about perspectives and there's two sides to every story. If 50% of the people that engaged with your story hate you after trying to engage with it, something went wrong. Like, it clearly was not as effective. You'd hope, if the story is delivered in the proper way and presented in the right way, that it will connect with people, and people will, like, 95% of them will be like, oh yeah, I totally get what they're saying, and I thought that was really profound. But instead, like, 50% of people hate it and are livid about it. So I think it could have been done better. Even if I connected with it and I understood what they were doing, and I liked the gameplay and the presentation of those parts of it, I still think that it would have been way more effective if they had delivered it in a different way with a different IP, for example. Yeah, BBO, to be fair, yeah, I think you're right. It's probably not 50%. A very vocal minority had it. Yeah, I mean, it was the most awarded game in history, I think, until Baldur's Gate 3 took that. So I think you're right. It wasn't 50% of players. But I mean, I know for a fact that there's, at least anecdotally for me, there's plenty of people that tried playing the game, got to the Abby parts, were like, I'm good. And with that, like, I think they missed out on something that would have otherwise been a pretty remarkable experience if they had stuck with it. But I also totally understand why they didn't stick with it. Let's see, 50% of players who discuss games online aren't the majority of total players, though, to be honest. Roughly sold 15 million units by now. Yeah, no, totally. I mean, I think it's, and the other piece of this too is that there were a lot of people that were not hating on The Last of Us Part 2 because of what it was as a video game. There were a lot of people hating on it for more political reasons. There were a lot of people that were hating on it because it was leaked, and it ended up being false. People, like, the first leaks were saying that Abby was like trans, and they're like, oh, they have a trans person killing Joel, your favorite character, and they make you do it and swing the golf club to kill him. And it's like none of that ended up being true, except that Joel died. Like, everything else was not accurate. And so there definitely were a lot of people at the time that were freaking out about it who probably didn't play games and were just latching onto it, similar to other things going on in the industry even now.